7, 4, 3.
The day has finally come, the moment some have been dreaming of and others have been dreading. The UK has officially left the EU. The UK will continue to be very close with the EU during the 11-month transition period, but officially, Brexit has happened and the UK is no longer a member of the European Union. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing what happened on Brexit Day and what happens next. Before we do though, let me ask you to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when we release further videos. And don't pretend that all of you have already subscribed because the stats tell me otherwise. So if you do want updating as this important year for the UK and EU plays out, then tap that button. Oh, and there might also be a surprise later today worth being notified about. So, when the clock ticked over to February 1st, 2020 in Brussels, the UK officially left the EU, and UK flags were removed from EU institutions. Back in Britain at 11 PM UK time, the moment was marked with a countdown projected on the front of 10 Downing Street. But let's rewind a moment, because at 10 PM, Johnson took to his Facebook page to share his thoughts with the country.
Tonight, we are leaving the European Union. For many people, this is an astonishing moment of hope, a moment they thought would never come. And there are many, of course, who feel a sense of anxiety and loss. And then there's a third group, perhaps the biggest, who had started to worry that the whole political wrangle would never come to an end. I understand all those feelings, and our job as the government, my job, is to bring this country together now and take us forward. The most important thing to say tonight is that this is not an end, but a beginning. This is the moment when the dawn breaks and the curtain goes up on a new act in our great national drama. And yes, it's partly about using these new powers, this recaptured sovereignty, to deliver the changes people voted for, whether that is by controlling immigration, or creating free ports, or liberating our fishing industry, or doing free trade deals, or simply making our laws and rules for the benefit of the people of this country. For all its strengths, and for all its admirable qualities, the EU has evolved over 50 years in a direction that no longer suits this country and change. This is the dawn of a new era in which we no longer accept that your life chances, your family's life chances, should depend on which part of the country you grow up in. This is the moment when we really begin to unite and level up, defeating crime, transforming our NHS, not because we want to detract from anything done by our EU friends. Of course not. We want this to be the beginning of a new era of friendly cooperation. And whatever the bumps in the road ahead, I know that we will succeed.
This was probably a slightly toned down message from Johnson, especially if you were expecting to see him celebrating getting Brexit done. Johnson's top political priority is now to reunify the country and try and bring people together, ultimately supporting the Conservatives. So the government were anxious to strike a balance between celebrating the success of Brexiteers and also not rubbing it in the face of those who are unhappy about the UK's exit. So it's unsurprising that Johnson's message was more unifying than celebratory. But the same can't quite be said for Nigel Farage's reaction. But putting that and even political strategy aside, it's still a little strange that Johnson didn't make more out of this moment. Even if he wanted to convey a unifying message, doing it live, doing it outside number 10 would certainly have held more weight than a pre-recorded clip from a corner of Downing Street. Maybe his team were concerned about the optics or Johnson's performance. Possibly they were trying to control the narrative. But such a low-key video on one of the most significant moments in the UK's political history, something which was fundamentally led by Johnson himself, does seem a little strange. Anyway, back to 11 PM when the countdown hit 0.
I vote to stay in the single market. I'm in favour of the single market. I want us to be able to trade freely with our European friends and partners.
Today, Boris Johnson launched the so-called Boris bus with a claim on its side which has been ruled incorrect by, amongst others, the UK Statistical Authority.
The Electoral Commission today confirmed that Vote Leave diverted almost £700,000 in excess funds.
Sorry, wrong angle there. That's footage from the group led by donkeys, who took the opportunity of Brexit to make Big Ben bong in a slightly more unusual way. But now let's take a look at Parliament Square and Nigel Farage's major Brexit event.
3, 2, 1. We will leave the European Union! And there are some that say we shouldn't celebrate tonight. Well, we are going to celebrate tonight, and we are celebrating tonight because we know that this is the single most important moment in the modern history of our great nation. So let us be optimistic. Let us think about the future of our great nation. Let us think about the example that we are giving to the rest of Europe and the free world as well. Let us celebrate tonight as we've never done before. You and all of us have made history, and this is the greatest moment in the modern history of our great nation. Thank you!
Regardless of your opinion on Brexit, it's very clear that this is a historic moment. The UK's position in the world and path forward has been fundamentally shifted. The word historic is thrown around a lot in the press, but this truly is a moment we'll look back on, for good or for ill, as a turning point in British history. Now, as significant as this moment was for the UK and the European Union, and while it is still very historic, from a practical perspective, pretty much nothing has changed. Regular viewers will be bored of hearing us say this, but we've now entered into a transition period, which means that everything will be frozen until the end of the year. So for now at least, everything stays the same. Whether things will change after the transition period will all depend on the deal that the UK and EU negotiate in the next 11 months. And don't worry, we'll make a video about that at the end of the year. But the long and short of it is, right now not much changed. And even if you are worried about how Brexit will affect you in the coming months, then we have a video explaining what it means for both Brits and Europeans, and both of those are linked down below. But those weren't the only viral speeches from Brexit Day. Campaign group led by donkeys marked the date with another impressive viral stunt. They projected a message to Europe on the White Cliffs of Dover. To close, let's take a look at what they had to say.
I'm Sid, I'm 95 years of age, I'm an ex-World War II veteran.
My name is Brigadier Stephen Goodall. I am now nearly 98 years old.
So what I would like to say to you now, this is a message from the White Cliffs of Dover, from Britain.
I feel really depressed at the idea that we are leaving Europe. I like to be called a European. The feeling that one has of comradeship as one goes round Europe.
First of all, I'm Welsh, and I'm British, and I'm European, and I'm a human being.
At my age, I shan't be living much longer, but I hope that for the sake of my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren, that England, Britain, will move back to be much closer to Europe.
From your side to this side, see these white cliffs, and we're looking across at you and feeling we want to be together. And we will be together before long, I'm sure.
The story around Brexit is still far from over, with 11 months of negotiations set to come, and then years of establishing how the UK and EU work together going forward. If you want to be updated on this and all other news that plays out, then be sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you want more from us across other social networks, you can search for TLDR News. Special thanks to our patrons who support the channel and make these videos possible.